life itself has become a virtual experience and a virtual reality in these last 2 months. And if you realize and look around, everything seems to be so virtual. Online classrooms in schools and colleges have become virtual. Jobs, businesses have become virtual. Trainings, meetings have become virtual. A few days back in the newspaper, I heard sex workers have become virtual. They don't want to lose their customers. And everything seems to be an unreal world when God has actually made it a real world. Now, in looking at this virtual stuff, there's nothing wrong with this, really nothing wrong with this. But I think life cannot run on a virtual basis. Life cannot function naturally and normally on a virtual basis. And that's what I want to be talking about today. After many weeks of lockdown and another Sunday that we are experiencing a lockdown of uncertainty, everything becoming virtual. I want to share today from the book of Ecclesiastes. Basically, supposedly, according to the Jewish tradition, King Solomon had written this book. But nevertheless, it's got some lovely words and statements of wisdom and knowledge and life by itself. And so Ecclesiastes chapter 4, and I'm going to read from verses 7 onwards. And today I want to talk about companionship is godly. Companionship is godly, and it's the way God intended. It's the way God wanted. It's the way God desired, because our God is not a virtual God. Just imagine God helping us with salvation through a virtual experience of Jesus, God saying, no, I can't send my son Jesus to be born as a human being and be with you guys and die. I'll keep him in heaven and we'll do a salvation work here. I'll set up a cross for him here or whatever. And through this virtual experience of you and him, you will get salvation. Imagine God had to have a virtual salvation experience. Or imagine God had to treat us on a virtual basis. He's not a God of the virtual basis. He's a real God. He's an intimate God. And so companionship is godly. And in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, from verse 7 as I read, it says, I observed yet another example of something meaningless under the sun. This is the case of a man who is all alone, without a child or a brother, yet who works hard to gain as much wealth as he can. But then he asks himself, who am I working for? Why am I giving up so much pleasure now? It is all so meaningless and depressing. Two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other person can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Likewise, two people lying close together can keep each other warm. But how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. So it goes on from one person, not a good idea, to two people as companions and friends and partners, whatever, and goes on to illustrate a rope that has three-corded braiding in it. How strong can that be? So God's trying to basically help us understand how important companionship is. So we could call this friendship, companionship, being in a group, being with one another. The bottom line is not to stay alone. I can't tell you how many cases I've known and understood, and even now recently for the last many months I'm looking at one of our real good friends and a person who is part of our family, how he's segregating himself from church, segregating himself from family, segregating himself from the rest of people. He's basically a loner. He's a loner, and he's understanding the Word of God wrong. He's understanding life wrong. He's understanding the consequences wrong. He's understanding responsibilities wrong. There's nothing that's right that's happening in him. He's becoming a mess, basically. He's doing everything wrong. And that's the danger of staying alone. That's the danger of not having a companion. That's the danger of not being with people. Because the good part of one of the good parts of companionship is when we're doing something wrong, when we're going astray, when we're taking bad decisions, there are people, at least there's another person or more, to help us understand that that's not right what we're doing, or there's something wrong, or something is missing. So these are the aspects of companionship. And having said that, if you look at this whole aspect of church, it's sometimes, or maybe most times, misunderstood. People think church is an activity. People think, meeting for worship is our duty. No, it's not an activity. It's not a duty. It is a need placed by God, because God intended for companionship. Look at the Garden of Eden when God created Adam. God actually thought Adam could be alone. After creating Adam, he never created Eve. Maybe people think God created Eve after Adam. No. After Adam, God created animals and birds, thinking that Adam will be happy. But Adam could not cope up with animals and birds, even though they were living things. Adam needed another kind, and that's why God had to give him another of his kind, because companionship is something that was put inside right from Adam, right from God. And Adam needed a companion, and that's why God gave him a companion. So right from the beginning, it's always been God intending companionship, not having virtual things, not having lonely things, not having individualistic approaches. And so if we look at Ecclesiastes, it says, I observed yet another example of something meaningless under the sun. This is the case of a man who is alone, without a child or a brother, yet who works hard to gain as much wealth as he can. But then he asks himself, who am I working for? And why am I giving up so much of pleasure now? It is also meaningless and depressing. So you can have the best job in the world. You can have the most amount of property. You can have the greatest skills and education and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, if you're going to try to stay alone, and if you think, I can manage things virtually, I can manage things by myself, I don't need groups, I don't need companionship, I don't need community, you're getting into big time trouble. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to illustrate and explain and help us understand right now. If you're segregating yourself, you're getting into a huge problem, and that's basically going to kill you. Don't ask me how it's going to kill you. It's going to kill you emotionally. It's going to kill you spiritually. It's going to kill you psychologically. It will kill you physically also, because end of the day, if you don't have someone to put his hand or her hand around your shoulder and say, hey, don't worry, we are with you, you're going to freak out, and that's going to be a bad situation. Well, I don't want us to misunderstand what I'm trying to say. Right now, in a situation like what we're facing with the pandemic, everything has to be safe, everything has to be sensible, it has to be wise, and we can't afford to make mistakes. And so things are virtual and we have to be careful. But what I'm trying to help us understand is that we can't get comfortable with this virtual world. We can't rely, we shouldn't rely, and we shouldn't feel that this is going to be the new way of life, like most people I'm hearing say, this is the new way of life. Now, if we continue as this being the new way of life, nothing wrong with this, what's going to happen is we're going to lose out on the essence of what God has for us, the essence of what God has inbuilt into us. And that's what I'm trying to help us understand. For now, it's good. For now, things being virtual is good. Church being virtual is good. Messages and tutoring and training, it's all fine. Meetings, that's fine. But we can't afford to lose our sensitivity and our value of the real world, of the companionship world, the authentic world that God created. And in verse 9 it says, two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help, but someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Now, there's always a strength in two people, and that's why everything is done in teams, everything is done in groups, and being together with each other, loving one another, trusting in each other, helping one another. In every situation, whether it's a pandemic or whether it's no pandemic or whether it's normal or abnormal, every situation requires each other. We can't say, I have everything, I have money, I have education, I have property, no. We need each other. You can be the richest person on earth, but you still need people. You need your family, you need your friends, you need your community. And so this whole companionship is also related and connected with being a community of people, whether it's inside a church, whether it's in an NGO, whether it's a company, whether it's a business. We need this companion. It says two people are better off than one, because if we think we can help ourselves, we are really wrong. We can't help ourselves. We're going to be very, very mistaken soon. And so in verse 11 it says, likewise, two people lying close together can keep each other warm. But how can one be warm alone? It goes on to even say about two people lying down together and understanding the whole aspect of how to keep warm, especially if you're in a cold country or in a cold city. You'll understand how important body warmth is. Whether sleeping with your siblings or sleeping with your family members, there's a warmth in it. It's a different experience altogether. No blanket can take care of that kind of a warmth. And it goes on to explain even two people's warmth of their bodies together. And in verse 12 it says, a person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Well, that's proven in every scenario. When you're in a group, when you're with two and more, you have protection, you have value for each other, you have a sense of security, and you feel safe and comfortable. I always illustrate and give the story of the deer. When the deer is with a group, when the deer is with a flock or with a herd, whatever, it's safe. And when a lion or tiger tries to attack a deer when it's in the group, it's unlikely that the lion or tiger can attack. But if you look at how the lion or tiger actually gets the deer as its prey, it segregates the deer. It goes chasing after the group and tries to segregate one. And whoever this one over spiritual deer is, or tries to think it can run away faster than the group, that's the deer that becomes bait and becomes food for the lion or tiger. So when you go away alone, without your companion, without your group, without your support, you are going to end in trouble. You're going to be the bait for something, and in this case, the bait for the devil. And so helping each other, protecting each other is so important. That's why God intended companionship for a reason, for our strength, for our security, for our well-being. Even the whole aspect of church. We come together not because we have a great pastor or preacher or prophet or teacher or bishop to listen to a great message in church. No, you can listen to a message on your mobile phone. You can listen to a message on your laptop. You just need internet to listen to a message. You don't need to drive or take a bus or ride and come all the way to church on a Sunday morning or whichever other day to meet and listen to somebody. You don't need to do that. But why do we do that? What's the need to do that? The need is not to come all this way to listen to someone speak. That's not the real need, even though that's important. The need is that we greet one another, we meet one another, we fellowship, we become family, we become community. We ask each other, how are you doing? We ask each other, how can I help? That is what companionship's all about. That's what church is all about. And so church is not this place where we come to hear a message. No, it's much beyond that. And that's what even this whole aspect is talking about, saying two people can stand back to back. And it says three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. It goes on to even say about how 3 or 4 or 5, sometimes when you look at certain ropes or thick, ropes and whatever you see has these bindings and lots of these wires. The more bindings, the more cords, the more wires, the more layers is more strength. And it says a 3 braided rope is much more stronger. That's true. Same thing happens in our life. More people with you, it's much more better. So in conclusion, let's try to understand what God is trying to help us know and learn. Nothing wrong in the virtual world right now. Nothing wrong with staying safe. We must stay safe. Nothing wrong with obeying the rules and laws. I think we must. And in fact, even if the government opens up churches and places of worship, I think I want to be careful to wait for some more time, because I don't want to be a bad role model to my people and get more people infected and into trouble with health issues. So I might take a little bit more time off and not be in a hurry. So it's okay for now. The virtual world is working. It's appropriate. But what I'm trying to help us understand is this is not the final conclusion of life. Life is not virtual. Life cannot be virtual. You and me can't afford to live a virtual life. Doesn't matter whether it's training, doesn't matter whether it's church, doesn't matter whether it's business, doesn't matter whether it's, this is just a time being situation. And let's program our mind not to get satisfied, not to get comfortable, not to feel this is okay, not to feel this is going to stay on for the long haul. It's not really going to stay on for the long haul, and we need to be careful to avoid our situations and circumstances not getting comfortable with this, and not allowing the virtuality of the real things that are happening right now to take control of our life, because we are made, and we need to be able to understand God's intention for the real thing, the real feeling, the real emotions, the real human need, the real requirements. This is what God wants us to know. And because the things that are happening the way they're happening right now, it's fine for us to make a change in life. So right now, we're just making a change in our lives, but we can't afford to continue with this virtual world, because if we continue with this virtual world, we are going to fail in every area, emotionally, physically, spiritually, psychologically. We're going to fail, and it's going to end in depression, and it's going to break us in every area. It's going to break relationships. It's going to break our jobs, which already is happening. So prepare your mind, program your mind, try to help yourself understand what was the very first intentions of God. How did God even start all this? And our God is a personal God. Even the way he started with Adam and Eve, even the way he continued with Jesus, and even right now how he is continuing to reach out to us. So since our God is not a virtual God, since our God is not a God of individuality in terms of you can be by yourself and help yourself, he's a God of the real, he's a God of the intimate, he's a God of feelings and compassion, and he's a God who wants us to stay with one another, help each other, benefit from one another, and look forward to how we could team and partner with one another. So this is the reality of the situation that we're passing. It's a passing cloud. It's a period of our life where we have to learn to adapt and cope, but this is not going to be the final life that we want to live. It should not be. And so in closing, I want to just share what I've been hearing, reading, and seeing. There are two kinds of groups of people inside the church. The one group of people are saying that it's okay, and we're going to live with this, and we're going to manage with this, and we are waiting to come back because we love the fellowship, we love the commitment, we love the reality, we love the touch and the emotions, and we love the real group. We love the intimacy. There's another group of people who are saying, oh, I've gotten to understand that I really don't need to go to church. I can stay at home, I can watch a video online through my phone or my computer, and I can get a message right at my bedroom. Fair enough, well enough, good. Now, nothing is wrong with both. Nothing is wrong, nothing is bad. But I think if we understand what's God's intention for companionship, what's God's intention for relationship, what's God's intention for us to come together. If you look at the Bible, it says, when two or three are gathered together there in my name. If you look at a lot of Bible verses, it talks about the strength of companionship. It talks about the advantages of groups and teams. So you take the call. Whether you want this to be a God-oriented thing in your life, or you want this to be an experience of your wisdom and knowledge that you think is going to work, you take the call. But I want to help you understand, and I want to understand the same way, that understanding the God perspective, understanding the God essence, and understanding the God style and the God purpose and way of doing things is important and safe. And so when we read about companionship, this is the God way. God intended that we stay together and stick together. But for now, we have to stay safe, we have to stay wise, and we have to stay careful, which is fine. But let the reality of right now not become the future decision of what we have to face. And let's not make our lives virtual lives. Let's make our lives real lives, and lives that God intends for us to have. God bless you. Have a safe week. Stay safe and take care of yourself.